Support for this show comes from patreon.com/JURY. That's my name, Justin Robert Young. People call me Jury. You can head on over to patreon.com/JURY. If you're at the $3 a week level, you get 2 extra podcasts right in a custom RSS feed you can plug into any podcatcher. It's just so simple. What have we talked about on those shows? Well, you got some of the Rudy Giuliani stuff as it first was unfolding, some think pieces about North Korea, the rise of Don Blankenship as it happened. We're going to do our best to talk about it, and the fact that Mitt Romney's favorite meal is a hot dog. You can also keep up to date with all of the political news in our free political newsletter. How do you get it? Well, you just go to freepoliticalnewsletter.com and sign up. So a $3 a week Patreon pledge gets you 2 extra podcasts, and freepoliticalnewsletter.com gets you a free political newsletter 5 days a week. Ensconce yourself in my political hot takery. But enough of talking about how we support the shows. Oh, what do you say we just do the damn thing?
Politics, 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 politics. Yes. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on, baby.
Oh! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Politics show. Very excited to be with you guys, as always, on a Wednesday. We got a lot to talk about. News, more news you can use all up in every crevice this week. And I'm kind of sad because there is an inflexibility that I have for all of you that listen to this podcast. And by this podcast, I mean the flagship show, the Wednesday version of this show that will always be free. We reach out to the widest possible audience. That things that blow up, and in this climate, the reason why you need to be on our $3 Patreon level or our freepoliticalnewsletter.com is because things happen so fast. It was only the last episode where we were talking about the craziest political ad of the midterms. And we had this jamoke out in Georgia pointing a gun at a teenager. And we thought we had some shit. I thought we had a nice little running start on that bit, but it was not. But 24 hours later, that we were really introduced to one of the craziest characters that I have seen in a very long time. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you have not made yourself aware of Mr. Don Blankenship, well, allow me to change that for you right now.
Don Blankenship, candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message. Swamp Captain Mitch McConnell has created millions of jobs for China people. While doing so...
The what? Let me just real quick. Just go right back. I mean, Swamp Captain, inventive, but... One more time? Wait a minute. I mean, I'm just having a hard time hearing you, Don. You just need to say it one more time.
Captain Mitch McConnell has created millions of jobs for China people. While doing so, Mitch has gotten rich. In fact, his China family has given him...
His what? China family. China people. China family. Millions of dollars. Swamp Captain.
Tens of millions of dollars. Mitch's swamp people are now running false negative ads against me. They are also childishly calling me despicable and mentally ill. The war to drain the swamp and create jobs for West Virginia people has begun.
Okay. Well, let's hope that he sticks the landing.
I will beat Joe Manchin and ditch Cocaine Mitch for the sake of the kids.
What the fuck is happening? If you are only watching this or listening to this on audio, you have to understand that Don Blankenship saying that he is going to ditch Cocaine Mitch is said while he is holding two adorable tow-headed blonde girls in either hand. We're assuming that they are some members of his family and he did not steal them from a Walmart parking lot. Quick primer on what the fuck is happening and what the fuck he's talking about. Number one, Don Blankenship was a candidate for the Republican nomination in the West Virginia Senate race. The winner of that primary is going on to face Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin is a Democrat in West Virginia, probably going to be among the toughest Democratic Senate seats to defend. And Don Blankenship is a coal magnate who recently got out of prison and whose probation was up last night on election night because of his culpability of a mine accident that killed 27. He is talking about the turtle, Mitch McConnell's China family, because Mitch McConnell is married to Taiwanese Elaine Chao. Elaine Chao's family runs a shipping line. That shipping line recently had a drug bust wherein $7 million of cocaine was found. And lo, that is where we get the totally unexplained Cocaine Mitch nickname. This was a campaign ad that came out on Thursday of last week. And in a little-known primary, there were several other primaries, by the way, in Ohio, North Carolina, and Indiana. But the West Virginia primary became the most talked about because of Don Blankenship. And specifically, this ad and the line of interrogation that Don Blankenship gave in the waning days. In fact, it was Politico, and I believe the Weekly Standard, that began getting wind that internal polling from the other two guys in that primary, and I'm not going to even mention their names because I don't know them. I know that Don Blankenship has been doing these crazy ads. And by the way, folks, he was not done. This was a radio spot that he released after people went crazy about that television spot.
This is Don Blankenship, candidate for U.S. Senate. The establishment politicians are getting desperate and more hostile. They are calling me a bigot, a moron, a despicable character, and mentally ill. But even if all of this is true, I will do a better job than they have done.
Wait a minute, hold on. What did they call you that you didn't deny?
They are calling me a bigot, a moron, a despicable character, and mentally ill. But even if all of this is true, I will do a better job than they have done.
So he's like, yeah, maybe, bigot, mentally ill, whatever. He literally just pulled a I know you are, but what am I?
They have resorted to this childish name-calling because they don't want us to focus on the issues. The issues are that we need more West Virginia jobs, we need to end the drug crisis, and we need an honest government. We do not need more childish behavior like you may have witnessed at the Fox debate.
So we don't need any more childish behavior. Thank God Don is here. Don Blankenship standing up for civilized discourse and debate. No more of this childish name calling. No more of this childish behavior. Please, Don, keep going.
The fake news is also pretending to be offended by my use of the words China people. They seem not to.
Well, that didn't last long. Okay. All right. So name calling, I guess, is fine. You know, no more childish name calling. And then we go right to China people. Oh, okay.
To realize that China is a country, not a race. The establishment has given millions of our jobs to China people and left many West Virginia people to fend for themselves.
In case you haven't picked up on his reasoning for saying China people, he's like, well, no. This is just how I talk. I am just a guy who says place where somebody's from and then people behind it. And so you've noticed, hopefully you have, that he kept putting China people and America people or West Virginia people closer and closer together. Because even he knew that it's like, no, it's racist. You're saying a racist thing. And you're saying a racist thing and then you're trying to get away with it.
Send me to the Senate and I will represent West Virginia people, not China people. I am an America person and I will put America first. Paid for by Don Blankenship for U.S. Senate.
Something of note here is that during this surge, a few notable people came to hamper the campaign of Don Blankenship. Most notably, the Trumps. First, Donald Jr. came out and trashed Blankenship. Blankenship came back and called him part of the establishment, proving once and for all that you either die a deplorable or see yourself become a cohort of Cocaine Mitch. And then Donald Trump himself, the man who literally wrote the book of how to run for office with no experience by way of trolling via name calling, came out and said, you want to know what, guys? It's about time that we got serious about this politics stuff. We can't afford to put somebody like Don Blankenship on the ballot. There's too much at stake. Remember Alabama, he tweeted. We don't need another Roy Moore. And if this guy is this free talking about China people, who knows how many 15-year-olds he tried to fuck. We don't even know if he has Sassy the horse, which I would like to remind all viewers and listeners of this show. We have confirmed through an inside source, a source close to Roy Moore, that Sassy is indeed the nicest of Roy Moore's horses. So this was all leading up to last night, Tuesday night. Finally, we got some fucking elections up in this bitch. So excited. It was there that, unfortunately, for those of us who don't like to think of other ideas to talk about on their podcast and television shows, that Don Blankenship lost. He got blowed out. Third place in what was essentially a 3-horse race. Turns out maybe some of those leaked polls that went to Politico and the Weekly Standard, maybe they were leaked for a reason, to try and make sure that voters who were repelled by Don Blankenship made their ways to the polls. But it really wasn't a contest. It's worth mentioning that there were reports that Mitch McConnell, the turtle, had been answering his phone for the last week as Cocaine Mitch. So that's what he was just saying whenever somebody called him. It's like, Cocaine Mitch here. And last night, we got the final slapdown from Mitch McConnell. This from his official Twitter. Thanks for playing at Don Blankenship. No subtweets. Gotcha, homie. At Don Blankenship. And use the hashtag WVSend, which was the official hashtag that people were using for that race. The picture attached is thanks for playing Don. Pablo Escobar's torso from Narcos. Mitch McConnell's face on it with exploding cocaine all around him. It is like somebody just dropped, like if you were like baking, like and you just dropped a gigantic piece of dough in the middle of it and all the particles would rise. That's what this looks like. If you have not seen it, go to @team_Mitch or head over to my Twitter account @Justin R. Young. I retweeted it as soon as it came out. Dude got bodied. Blankenship got motherfucking bodied by the turtle. And also, coincidentally, Mitch McConnell was in front of cameras and microphones yesterday. They asked him about Don Blankenship, and he said, well, you know, I might have more to say about that tomorrow. Then he was asked if he supported marijuana legalization. He said no. It's very obvious because Mitch McConnell only parties one way. He's got a nose. He's got a nose for politics. Cocaine Mitch rides again. Don Blankenship is right out. And that pretty much brings us to the end of the saga of Don Blankenship. Like I told you guys, we got news on news on news. And really considering the tone of all of Don Blankenship's ads, there's really only one way that we can sign him off, and that is this.
I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Adios, Donnie boy. Oh, Iran. Iran, number one. USA. The Iran deal's dead, dog. Dead as Dillinger. DED. Dead. Over. Finito. Finado. Haas and Pfeffer Incorporated. It's gone. Here's the thing I find fascinating about the Iran deal. Is that everybody kind of reads into it whatever they want. Like if you could possibly go to people who don't follow politics and say, all right, Trump put in this deal with Iran, and Obama came in and repealed it, you wouldn't necessarily think that that's crazy. Because nobody really, I think, in general, politically, has much of a handle on how much we should or shouldn't trust Iran. All of history, modern history, would point to the idea that we probably shouldn't trust Iran all that much. And that we traditionally have a much better relationship with countries like Saudi Arabia and Israel, which did not like the Iran deal to begin with and cheered the fact that it was repealed yesterday. So what we have is a flurry of experts. You know, with like let me separate this from something like the economy, right? We all have our own ideas on the economy that we feel we know because we're living in it. If somebody keeps saying, oh, the economy's doing better, and you look around and none of your friends have jobs, and you've been looking for a job for 6 months to a year and you can't find anything, then you have a tendency to think, no, fuck you. There ain't no jobs, so stop lying to me and tell me that the economy's getting better. Nobody really has any idea about Iran. Even our intelligence, is something that, like, you could think of many legitimate reasons why you wouldn't know fully exactly what Iran is or is not doing. So here's what we do know. We do know that conservatives, specifically conservative media, has hated the Iran deal from the second that it was signed. We know that it is the signature foreign policy achievement of Obama. We know that it apparently, according to many sources, includes robust checks to ensure that Iran is not going to be developing a nuclear weapon. We know that it has the cooperation of many countries, including all the major countries in Europe and Russia. Keep the Russian thing in your mind, because we're going to get back to Trump and Russia in a second. And we know that Saudi Arabia and Israel hate it. So, Benjamin Netanyahu came out last week and did a little slideshow presentation, basically making the argument that the deal was flawed and that Iran had not stopped creating a nuclear weapon. There was a flurry of diplomacy over the last week with European powers trying to save the deal. But Donald Trump ran on the fact that he would throw it out. And he did. Now, you might be listening to this. All my blue teamers might be listening to this and saying, yeah, so what? He kept his word. You violated America's word. America's word to all these other countries is now broken. We did some shit 2 years ago, and now we're doing the exact opposite. So we have degraded our trust throughout the international community. And that's true. But this is primarily a show about elections and politics and power. If you think that Donald Trump will not trumpet the fact that he's a politician that keeps his word, then you're kidding yourself. He's going to do that. And considering how unpopular the Iran deal was with his core voting demographic, that's something that will help him in 2020. I don't know if it's a good deal or a bad deal. I'm going to be honest with you. There's a reason why I led with Don Blankenship and not the Iran situation. Because I'm reading the same experts that y'all are reading, but experts also told us that Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. And not to say that that is the end-all be-all, or I am less inclined to believe them. I'm just saying that right now, unfortunately, the only way that we really know that pulling out of this Iran deal was an absolute disaster is if we go to war. And we don't know that until we actually go to fucking war. But my basic, rudimentary, ridiculously simple, a dog pawing at two different levels levers marked appropriately would probably be better analysis take on this, is that it kind of wound up working out not terrible, since we, the United States of America, pulled out. But Iran has announced that they are staying in the deal, and the United States continues to put sanctions. So what we are seeing is the coherence, in my opinion, of the Donald Trump international strategy. Now, Drench Wildfire says going to war with Iran has been on the Republican agenda for at least 2 decades. That may or may not be true, but remember that Donald Trump ran against that agenda. Donald Trump was in part very successful in the Republican primary because he wanted to run against the neocon agenda. He criticized the war in Iraq very, very heavily. The America First agenda is the opposite of, the point that you are making, that, continued intervention in the Middle East is something that Republicans want. So whether or not he will go to war remains to be seen. All we can do is go by what he has said. And so far, he's done unpopular things that he promised he would do. If I were to try to distill Donald Trump's foreign policy into a little nugget, here's what I would say it is. We're the United States. You all have to deal with us no matter what. You all will, no matter what we do, we can tear up every agreement we have with everybody, and everyone's still going to have to deal with us because our economy is too robust, our military is too strong, and the other options are dealing with China and Russia. So, all these deals that we think are bad, instead of treating them like they are made of marble, I'm going to treat them like they're made of paper, and I'm going to tear them up. Now, here's the good news. There's always room for a new deal. I'm Donald Trump, and I will be here to figure out what the future is. But understand that the new way of doing things is going to be more about what we get versus what you get. So Donald Trump doesn't see that there's much gain in the Iran deal because he looked at it as, all right, whether or not they're doing it now, I believe that they are violating it on some level. And no matter what, either they wait to do it or they're doing it now. But this deal ends in 2030. So either they're secretly going to violate it or they're going to violate it in 2030. Either way, our biggest way to censure them, to hamper this, is through economic sanctions. Sanctions that we have now taken off the table thanks to this agreement. So that seems to be what the North Korea strategy is. That seems to be what the Iran strategy is. It seems to be what the China strategy is. It seems to be what the NAFTA strategy is. No matter what, everybody's got to deal with us. So why are we catering to others instead of making them cater to us? That's how I understand it. And if you look at it through that lens, it's not shocking that he did what he did. I do think that there is strategy. JSC315 in the chat room. Now, he might be mistaken, but I do see a consistency. I don't think that that's crazy to say that you're seeing consistent actions based on a worldview. So where do we go from here? Well, like I said before, I think everyone's going to forget about this in a week. This is going to be like the Paris Climate Accords, where everybody was freaking out about it for a week, and then everyone's going to forget about it because there's no actual day-to-day interaction with these treaties in the real world. Unless you are doing business in Iran, like, nobody really is going to have any interaction with this decision. Unless we go to war. But then the question is, what does that even look like? And what does it start over? I would say it's probably less of a possibility, but then again, what do I know? I told you to keep thinking about the fact that Russia was not thrilled with how Donald Trump handled the Iran deal. They were part of the Iran deal. I'm starting to not quite understand if Donald Trump is a bought and paid for puppet of the Russian government. Aside from Trump's sycophantic relationship to Putin, what is Russia getting? Let me ask you that. Email me, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. And let's try to stay away from just the like Putin gets a blowjob, they're butt fucking. Let's try to keep, in reality, what is Russia getting from Trump? Because, we saw the sanctions were delayed and then they went in, and we've certainly seen plenty of very icky, creepy, sycophantic, Putin's a great guy and let's congratulate him on his shitty rigged election. We've seen a lot of that. And maybe that's enough. I mean, if I were trying to control the president of the United States, I'd probably ask for more, but I'm me. He's Putin. Maybe things look differently when you're up on a horse without a shirt on. But I'm curious. And part of the reason why I'm curious is because, man, Michael Avanti, the lawyer for Stormy Daniels, holy shit, is this guy fucking all over the place. And he brought the receipts yesterday. This was a story that, along with the Iran deal and the primaries, kind of blew everything off the front page. He released papers that showed that there were a couple people that paid Michael Cohen money. One of them was AT&T, and the other was Novantis. Novantis is a company that is controlled, according to the media, by a Russian oligarch. So, why did Michael Cohen get $500,000? Why was it paid to the same LLC that was used to pay out Stormy Daniels? Was this done because Donald Trump does not have money and he needed money to keep going? I don't know. Here is the story from Sam Baker at Axios. Pharmaceutical giant Novartis says it paid $1.2 million to Michael Cohen, President Trump's personal attorney, in exchange for advice about the Trump administration's health policy agenda. However, executives figured out after just one meeting with Cohen that he would be unable to provide the services that Novartis had anticipated, the company said in a statement. This is, of course, important because special counsel Robert Mueller's office asked about the arrangement late last year. Novartis says it considered this matter closed as to it itself and is not aware of any outstanding questions regarding the agreement. As of now, this is very tantalizing, and I would like more answers. It is continued smoke in what might be a raging fire. It also shows that Michael Avanti, the lawyer for Stormy Daniels, is doing his best to make sure that his client gets roped in to the Mueller investigation. This is where they can do the most damage, and he is intent on doing the most damage and getting on CNN. Two things that he is intent on doing: getting on CNN, doing the most damage. In that order. In fact, scratch that. Getting on television. Let's not limit ourselves to CNN. Getting on television, number one, doing the most damage to the president possible. It is not Michael Avanti's job to prove anything. It is Michael Avanti's job to create the most tantalizing scenarios that make people want to look more into the dealings of Michael Cohen and Donald Trump. Now, is it shocking that an insurgent candidate who does not have a well-defined orbit of hangers-on would create an opportunity where businesses who want to get into the unpredictable mind of Donald Trump would be looking for literally anybody they could hand substantial piles of money to so they could either A, understand this person better, or B, possibly more likely, buy themselves a little influence? No. It is not. Not to me, at least. Is that paid to play? Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. This is what conservative media went crazy about the Clinton Global Initiative about. How did Bill and Hillary get rich? How did Hillary make a bunch of money while she was in the State Department? These are... Welcome back. I have told you repeatedly on this show, as I speak to you now behind the golden microphone, these formerly tobacco-stained fingers I'm holding in my hands proof that the Clinton Global Initiative is the biggest pay-for-play mill we have ever seen in politics in the history of this venerable republic. I know. Yes. Snurdly. Yes. Bigger than Tammany Hall. Tammany Hall would wince at the kind of ruthless efficiency that the Clinton Mafia has run with our State Department. What was that? How much to Cohen? Okay, moving on. Let's talk about baseball. We'll see. I don't necessarily trust Michael Avanti all that much. He's a lawyer. He's there for attention. This information very much interests me. Very, 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 very much interests me. You want to know what else interests me? Political races. That's why we try to do our best to educate you, the podcast listening public, you watching us on twitch.tv/Justin R. Young. You watching us on youtube.com/Justin Robert Young with this, our most popular segment. Oh, we're going home, baby. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Florida poll. Data science the way it deserves to be treated. Let's, ladies and gentlemen, get on into this.
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
Dance, 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 dance. This is a Florida Atlantic poll from May 4th to May 7th with 1,000 registered voters for the Florida Senate. It has a margin of error of 3 percentage points. Coming up first to the stage, we have your incumbent, Bill Nelson! 40% of the vote for Bill Nelson. But your headline, with 44% of the vote, we have the governor, Rick Scott. That is Scott over Nelson, 44 to 40%. That is the first lead we have seen in this race for the Republican, and point spread for Rick Scott. That's an interesting one. I mean, again, if you want, like we are, to be binoculars in hand on the Wave Watch, and you harbor a belief that you are going to see the Democrats not only take the House, which is most likely, but the Senate, then you need to defend the seats that you have. Bill Nelson is a seat in turmoil, and we will see what happens with Joe Manchin now that Don Blankenship was unable to become the Republican nominee. But first, let's go ahead and get into your emails. You can go ahead and email us, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Russell wrote in, the NRA is running top speed into parody mode. As you well know, Oliver North, their new president, is guilty for selling arms to Iran and funneling those profits to the Contras. This, of course, is in response to the news that Oliver North is the new NRA president. I will admit to you guys that I do not know a lot about how the NRA works. Oliver North is somebody who is very famous in conservative circles beyond his role in the Iran-Contra affair. But listen, I don't want to go off on a rant here. But I believe in you. I believe in you. Whoever's watching, who's ever listening. If you're listening to me, if you like what you hear, then you know that I never ask you to agree with me. All I ask is that you take as objective a look at this stuff as you possibly can. Go to all the other podcasts. Go to all the Pod Save Americas. Go to all the Fox Newses if you want to get partisan bullshit. But we're here because we understand that there is a way to win objectively beyond being swayed by partisan sources. I'm going to ask all of you to please not fall in to this trap. Attacking nonprofit organizations as if they are a political party. I mean that on both sides. I mean that on I mean that for all of the red teamers that they go hard after Planned Parenthood. I mean that to all my blue teamers who go hard after the NRA. And I don't say this as a political pundit. I say this as somebody who has seen intimately inside how nonprofit organizations work. The way that you make money if you are a nonprofit organization is by farming the outrage from people who are upset about it. So like I said before, if you like I said this when everybody was when the gun control stuff was coming up. Like, don't go after the NRA. Don't go after, because like literally all you do is print fundraising brochures, therefore ensuring that they have more of an ability to do everything that you're bitching about. In screaming about it, you are making a referendum of whether or not the NRA is an acceptable organization. You're creating a referendum on whether or not Planned Parenthood is a organization that you like or don't like. Guess what that does? Creates the perfect, created in a lab messaging for those nonprofits. It's how they raise money. Why do you think PETA is the gigantic organization that it is? It is a gigantic organization because people hate PETA. And they say nasty shit about PETA. And then PETA organizes all those quotes, and they take all those sound bites, and they put them all into nice little multimedia marketing, and they go to gigantically rich donors who are already on the side of animal rights, and they say, we need more money this year than next year because look how we're under attack. I'm not even saying turn the other cheek, kill Mubarak. I'm saying opt out of their strategy. Their strategy is to farm your outrage. That's like, so whatever you want to call it, however you want to justify that action is up to you. But I'm telling you that whenever a nonprofit organization is the center of a political debate, that organization explodes. You are basically giving it another 5 years of runway just by talking about them. Besides the fact that you're not even really doing anything about your cause. Attacking a nonprofit organization does not make any of the causes that you want to change any better. You are actively eroding it. You're actively eroding it. If you are attacking the NRA for paying off politicians, then creating a money factory for them so they can pay off more politicians does not advance your cause. You're actively doing more harm than good. That's my opinion from being inside of nonprofit organizations. The stiffies that arise from a nonprofit organization when somebody comes after them, the big ones, the ones that know how to do this, is insane. It's crazy. Jim writes, I really enjoyed the last show. I appreciate that despite having a tied pole dance, you found a way to use your signature spread. The CIA, the NSA, and the FBI agree that Russia is currently attacking our election system and our power grid. The same week that we learned that Putin unleashed a disgusting poison in England, Trump's response was to call Putin and congratulate him on the fixed election. This is not a red versus blue thing. It's a U.S. versus Russia thing, and our president is on the wrong side. I say investigate him as long as needed. Trump and Giuliani are twisting in the wind, publicly admitting to crimes. Get the popcorn. This was in response to me asking blue teamers whether or not they are ready for this investigation to be done, regardless of the outcome. The Russia thing does confuse me. I'm genuinely confused by it because Trump doesn't look, in terms of his policies, which is really all I care about, doesn't look like somebody who is being controlled by the Russian government. But the fuck do I know? I like Don Blankenship's stupid fucking... I'm the one who re-edited this so I could make better fun of Don Blankenship.
I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Sean writes, I'm a true blue Democrat, and I will be happy if a fair and thorough investigation into Trump and his campaign's collusion and obstruction of justice is done. Ideally, it would wrap up in a way or time that would help the wave this fall, eye for an eye. If that means dragging out a few months more, then okay. As a resident of Missouri, this is echoed with the governor. The House here may have a special impeachment session, and I was hoping that that would drag on longer to help Claire McCaskill, who's running for her seat, her Senate seat. Also, I think that legitimate rape was McCaskill's second race, which I might have gotten that wrong. If we used to be hill dogs, Sean asks, as a blue teamer, what about some surfing reference now? I like blue team, red team. If you guys don't like blue team, red team, then let me know. But I feel like blue team, red team is fair. Keith writes, I'm thinking the Mueller investigation will drag on just long enough to get us to the midterms. Both parties will want it to continue to be an issue. At that point, if the Dems pick up the majorities in both houses, Trump gets impeached. If the Republicans keep strong majorities in both houses, obviously he won't. However, if the Republicans lose seats in both, and it is extremely close, I think the Republicans will not want to hitch their wagon to Trump anymore, and the Republican leadership will give Trump two options. One, declare victory and say there isn't anything left to accomplish in a second term, so he won't run for re-election in 2020. Or two, if he decides not to announce that he won't run for re-election, just enough Republicans will support impeachment, and he'll be removed from office in an effort to save the remaining Republicans from being tainted by Trump in future elections. Man, I'll tell you what. There's a special spot in my heart for blue team fan fiction on how Trump leaves office. Because it is some wild-ass shit. Like, dude, Trump's running in 2020. And by the way, we might want to clip this. This is going to be a Hail Mary. What if this happens? The wave does crest. We get Democratic control of the House and the Senate. Mueller comes back with damning enough information. But the process by which all that happened like it did for Clinton, collects and inflames Trump support. And then the Democrats do what the Democrats always do. They don't impeach Trump. And they infuriate their base. Wouldn't that be the most Democrat thing to do? That would be the most Democrat thing to do ever, right? That would be it. That would just be like so Democrat. If they got right up to there. They had all the ammunition and then they didn't do it. All right, so clip that out. If and when that happens, then at least we'll know that I said it. Sam writes, finally, just thinking about your PX3 correspondence dinner piece and recalled that the now defunct Campaign Chaos Book Club favorite, The Devil's Bargain, mentioned that part of the reason Trump was compelled to run was because he got roasted so badly at Obama's correspondence dinner, or am I making that up? If that's the case, it'd be another reason that Trump chose to bypass the dinner. Am I right? Also, fantastic take on comparing Trump's stance with regards to North Korea denuclearization with U.S. tactics taken during the Cold War. Standing O for that analysis. Well, thank you. I believe it was Devil's Bargain that posited the theory that Donald Trump decided he was definitely going to run after he got clowned so hard by Obama. That was when Obama released his birth certificate at the dinner and clowned Trump for it. Seth Meyers clowned him too. I think it's more that he can't control it, and he doesn't really like people making fun of him. Specifically, like the third most popular person on The Daily Show. I think he would want like the biggest person ever to make fun of him. Like, he's not above being made fun of. Like, that dude has, made a career of some level of self-parody. But I don't think that it's necessarily his favorite thing to do in the world. By the way, I'm not saying that Michelle Wolf was the third most popular person on The Daily Show. I don't watch The Daily Show. All I know that it's usually one of the correspondents, and it's not the host. So I'm just assuming that there's another correspondent that's more popular. All right. That about wraps it up. TheYoungAmerican@gmail.com. Again, TheYoungAmerican@gmail.com. You can email the show there. Ways you can support the show. Go ahead and get our Politics extra podcasts by going to patreon.com/JURY and pledging at the $3 a week level. It's going to say $3 an episode. I wish they would let me change it to say $3 a week. You're only charged once a week. You get everything that we do on the Patreon, including the jury shows, the Friday Hype Train, all that. But what you really want is those Monday and Friday episodes. So head on over there right now, patreon.com/JURY. Don't have that kind of scratch? There's plenty of other ways that you can support the show. Number one, if you have Amazon Prime, head on over to twitch.tv/JustinRYoung or justinryoung.tv. Go ahead and click subscribe. It'll ask you to tie your Amazon Prime account to a Twitch account, and you can go ahead and give me $5 for free. That's just $5 that you get from Papa Bezos that goes away if you don't spend it on Twitch. So if you're not a Twitch viewer, then congratulations to me. You can give me that money. Also, The Contender is my card game. Go ahead and get that, thecontender.us. And Diamond Club stickers and pins are available at stickersordIAF.com. Is that about it? think it's about it. Oh, also, if you've given me your Twitch Prime money last month, do it again now. It doesn't auto-renew. I wish it auto-renewed. It doesn't auto-renew. So you just head over there right now, hit subscribe again. Bada bing, bang, boom. I get that sweet cash.
Politics, 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 politics.
Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, also the newsletter, freepoliticalnewsletter.com, freepoliticalnewsletter.com. Refer a friend. This is Refer a Friend week to the political newsletter. If you know somebody that would dig that newsletter, go ahead and let them know. freepoliticalnewsletter.com. That about wraps it up for this edition of the show. My name is Justin Robert Young. Remember, friends, some folks talk about politics. Others talk about politics. I saw another one, man, that was talking about politics last night. But this is the only show that does all three. I'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program. Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.